power last round. His opponent, Matt Tumavitch, on the right. And Tumavich's deck, this one's a little more typical than last one. No Heir of the Wilds. He's back on what you'd expect. That means Hangerback, Walkers, Anaphenzas, Siege Rhinos, Warden of the First Trees. Nothing fancy here, just good cards.
Yep. 1 copy of Murderous Cut, 1 Silk Wrap, 4 Abzan Charm, 4 Dramoka Command as removal spells. Only 3 Den Protectors, 2 Wingmake Rocks, which is pretty typical. This is a fairly stock list.
All right, well, Matt Tumavitch as the number 4 seed, he'll get to be on the play as we start this match out. Tumavitch on a pair of fetch lands, no 1 or 2 drop. Looks like life is going to start with a turn 3 Anafenza, but a lot of good follow-up after that. A lot of cards that are great at trading. We see in Matt's hand cards like Gideon, Rhino, and Abzan Charm. And it looks like Hunter willing to play that game as well. No 1 or 2 on his side.
And this is the setup that you like to see here from Tumavitch. 2 fetch lands, getting 2 basic lands, more fetch lands in hand. Those can start getting battle lands. Mana's going to be fixed, deck's going to be thinned, and he's going to be playing everything on curve, all the lands coming to play untapped.
Yeah, both players with great mana here. Tumavitch drawing a second Rhino, so we're looking at a possible curve of Anafenza, Rhino from Tumavitch. When you see that, you almost don't care what's going on Hunter's side. It's so hard for him to interact with that.
Yep, I mean, the best thing that he can do is kind of keep pace with his own removal spells, but he gets so many enters the battlefield triggers from the Siege Rhinos that it's still productive. And if Nance misses a step here, misses a land drop, land comes into play, tapped at the wrong time, Tumavitch might bury him.
All right, well, here's the start of that. Anafenza the foremost. She hits the battlefield as a 4/4. We go back to Hunter's turn 3. Does he have his own 3-up? Does he have a kill spell? We'll see in a second here. Great mana on Nance's side.
That Expedition, by the way, that is a Smoldering Marsh.
Thank you. So black and red now available for him.
Because he used the black to cast the Anafenza, but got it off of a wooded foothill.
Oh, so you don't even have to actually squint and figure out what the border is. We can just figure it out.
Well, I was also able to tell because the first word is kind of long and the second word is shorter.
So like it's, yeah, yes.
So probably not Sunken Hollow.
Yeah, that'd be the same. That'd be true the same, right. It's front loaded. I get it. The Anafenza will swing and they'll trade. That's a win for Nance, really. I mean, there was he got Dermoka's command. There were things that could have made that a lot worse. Abzan Charm.
You really don't want to have Tumavitch be able to kill your threat and be able to attack in the same turn. Best case scenario there with Nance casting the Anafenza is he gets to trade. He was able to trade.
For Tumavitch, it's a 4th land. It's about the same size, so Canopy Vista, maybe.
That is a Canopy Vista.
All right, Canopy Vista.
As he needed a second white mana for the Gideon and got it off of a Windswept Heath.
Well, could be Prairie Stream. That would work.
I don't know if there's a Prairie Stream in his deck.
There's not. Only Prairie Stream on the other side. Boom, got there.
2 for 2.
So picking the 4-drop, Tumavitch had options of Rhinos and Gideons. He went for Gideon with the first one here.
And that makes a lot of sense on the empty board here. You accrue a lot of advantage over time with Gideon, so if you can get it out there up in front with the board clear, much better than having a Siege Rhino in play.
Right, and here's the big threat in Hunter's list that is not on Tumavitch's. It's the Woodland Wanderer. We've seen him go for this card in each of the matchups, and I have yet to see it ever enter combat or deal damage to a creature. It just got Abzan Charmed, and that's really been the story.
Now, Woodland Wanderer does have his matchups, and it wouldn't surprise me if it did a lot of work for Nance when he played against Bant Megamorph in the quarterfinals. But in this matchup, it stinks. It's 4 mana. Everything that kills it costs less mana, and it doesn't do anything when it enters the battlefield.
And how punishing was that? Matt, after killing the Woodland Wanderer, activates Gideon with the +1. It becomes a 5/5. Gideon and his allies swing. That's 7 damage, and Nance is down to 10.
And you see, Tumavitch's leftovers hasn't even had to touch the Siege Rhinos yet.
Yeah, he has 2 Rhinos in hand and has Hunter down to 10 already. That's dangerous. Hunter will play a Rhino of his own, go up to 13. Drop Tumavitch to 13. So for now, the life totals are even, but big chance for Tumavitch to just break this one open.
Yep. Gets in a hit, one assumes, in the clear with Gideon. That's 5 points. You get 3 points from the Rhino trigger. And Nance has a lot of catching up to do. Can't kill the Gideon.
All right.
Very good spot for Tumavitch to be in.
Flooded Strand was cracked for a battle land of some sort. It's another expedition. It's hiding out between a forest and a plains. It's got blue or white mana in it.
Probably whatever.
It probably doesn't matter. He's got great mana. He's going to cast some spells, and they're going to be good cards. He's playing Abzan.
I don't care, and I I am annoyed by these expeditions. I'm going to put it out there.
Gideon swings. That Hunter takes the damage from 5 damage. It goes down to 8. Siege Rhino is the backup play for Matt. Drops Hunter to 5.
Oh, it's the piece of art that's the sort of blurry looking hedron thing. Oh, wait, that's all of them. They all look like that.
It's
all
good.
of them.
Look, the art is beautiful, and I love that they've printed them, but man, the color identity can be hard to see on them. All right, well, here's Dramoka's command from Hunter. Rhino fights Rhino. Hunter's Rhino wins. It works. He had to just basically play into a possible trick from Tumavitch there. And the second play from Hunter will be a Den Protector face down. Only one morph in his deck. Both players know what it is. At 5 life, Hunter's priced into blocking Gideon.
Well, the Rhino right now is a 5/6, so he's got that covered.
Yep.
He can't beat any removal spell because of the Siege Rhino left over in Tumavitch's hand.
I think Tumavitch's hand is land Rhino. It's close to being lethal. If he swings, Tumavitch can force the ally to trade with the morph. That's not bad.
No.
Swing with both. This Tumavitch will get the morph. If Hunter doesn't block with it, he's dead to the Rhino in Tumavitch's hand. He doesn't know that, though. So, first of all, pressure on Hunter to block correctly here.
Well, it's not necessarily a correct block. It's a calculated risk. And he has to feel like he can beat a follow-up Rhino anyway.
No matter how he blocks it, it means both the 2/2s hit the bin. Here's Siege Rhino, Nance down to 2.
So at least Nance got paid off there. That would have been game over if he said no blocks trying to get the Den Protector flipped.
Yeah, I mean, this has been a really difficult game for Nance. He's down to 2, but as it stands, Tumavitch's hand is all lands. Nance has Wingmate Rock in hand. Nance has Dramoka's command in hand. He's got the tools that he might need to win. Now he just has to do it. He'll pass the turn. 5 mana up. Anafenza's the draw for Tumavitch. No man lands on Tumavitch's side. That's good news for Hunter Nance.
Yeah, any small push here, and Tumavitch gets the game finished off.
Right now, the danger is with Nance at 2, Gideon making allies is serious business. Each of those is a lethal attacker.
Yeah, Nance needs to pressure the Gideon because anytime he doesn't, Gideon gets to make a token. The problem is that Nance also needs to play around the threat of Gideon just attacking every single turn, which means he's forced to leave the Rhino back on D. So he's a bit bottlenecked right now.
Yeah, so Tumavitch makes 2 creatures. It's the token off Gideon and Anafenza. Then he passes the turn. Nance is going to have to make some end-step moves. And he'll start with Dramoka's command. I mean, just has to fight something.
Yeah, Nance cannot waste mana at this point. He's got to cast it on something.
And one of the strengths I really like about Gideon is that you can Gideon at 1 and Gideon at 4 are not appreciably different cards. An interesting move, Hunter Nance had Obzon Charm in hand. He went for Dramoka's command, fighting down Tumavitch's Siege Rhino, and actually did not play the Obzon Charm on end step.
I'm guessing he's trying to get the Gideon with the Obzon Charm. The problem is anytime Nance leaves up 3 mana, Tumavitch is just going to hit the 0 button. It's unlikely he's going to be able to get the state that he's looking for.
I understand the ambition here where Nance wants to make that play happen, but right, you do feel that Hunter just has to be mana efficient. He needs to throw out lots of spells here.
Well, it looks like he's going to get paid off in some respect here, as Tumavitch is now making a move with the Gideon, but I don't know if he can survive everything inside of combat.
So yeah, Gideon's plussed. All right, there'll be 3 attackers. All are lethal. They all swing. Can Hunter Nance survive? Yeah, he can exile Gideon. All right, Gideon's gone. He needs... if he has a Dramoka's command, he's alive.
It looks like his hand's just 2 creatures and a Stubborn Denial, so this attack is going to do it. Tumavitch was making that attack, I think, because he drew Wingmate Rock, so let's see what happens, and then I could probably win with the follow-up, but wasn't even required.
Yeah, good. If you look at Matt Tumavitch's side, you say, hey, good chance this attack wins. If this attack doesn't win, well, hey, we got a pretty good backup plan. There's a pair of flyers.
And he can't sit there all day anyway, so good attack there from Tumavitch. He picks up game 1.
All right, game 1 in Matt Tumavitch's camp. We will look at the sideboards. We've seen what Hunter Nance has done before. He has his control package, which has served him well. Has an excellent record in post-board games in these Obzon mirrors. Hasn't dropped one yet.
And and for the first time that we've really watched Nance, he's playing against an opponent with similar tools. You see Tragic Arrogance, Wingmate Rock, Den Protectors, Counter Spells, Sorin, Tassiker floating around in one or both of these deck lists. These are the kind of cards you want for this matchup. The big late game haymaker is Tragic Arrogance. It can cement you when you are ahead, or it can catch you up a lot when you're behind. And all these other cards are either efficient removal spells, efficient threats, or we may rock the best threat in the matchup.
You're right. So Tumavitch has some of that available to him if you kind of just comparing the two sideboards together. Tragic Arrogance available for both of them, though Hunter Nance does have one more. The differences between the two is that Hunter Nance has Disdainful Strokes and an extra Dromoka's Command, whereas Tumavitch has Self-Inflicted Wounds in his board as well. Which side do you really want to be on here?
Well, this is keeping up with what we've seen in other Obzon matchups here where Hunter's opponents have been a little bit more aggressive. You don't see Self-Inflicted Wound in Nance's sideboard. He's trying to play a bigger late game here, and the 2 copies of Tragic Arrogance are really what he's trying to execute. Tumavitch a little bit lower to the ground here. He's a little bit more aggressive with copies of Self-Inflicted Wound, but he's not totally conceding the late game as he has access to a Tragic Arrogance of his own.
Well, let's try to get ready for game 2. This is the finals, Hunter Nance versus Nat Tumavitch. This is for the trophy. We've seen both players all weekend really been near the top of the standings. And now if you missed that and want to catch up on all the coverage from this weekend, check us out at Star City Games' YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/Star City Games. Subscribe and you'll get notified when we have our postings. So we have archives of all our Open Series events, including every match from this weekend in Philadelphia. In addition to that, we have our Versus Series videos. We see our top pros play games, explain matchups in different formats, as well as our Commander crew do Versus Series videos for those of you into the multiplayer format. Also, archives of our premium events. We have unboxing and so much more content available. You can find it all on YouTube, youtube.com/Star City Games. Down a game for Nance, though. Post board, he's been good, but he's going to have to be perfect. He needs both of these.
He needs both of them, and I at least what we've covered of him so far, he has not played against an opponent who has been about as well equipped as he has. I still think Nance has a slightly better sideboard than the other Obzon decks we've seen, mostly because the blue cards seem very good, Disdainful Stroke and Stubborn Denial. But he is punching in the same weight class for the first time. I felt like his other Obzon opponents were sideboarding 4 or 5 cards. Tumavitch has a much more substantial sideboard for this matchup.
You know, punching in the same weight class is a great thing. On top of that, just the experience and play skill with the deck from Tumavitch has been pretty solid on the weekend. You know, there haven't been any overwhelming blunders on Tumavitch's side. Hunter's going to have to work very hard for each of these wins.
Yeah, I mean, Tumavitch there went with Gideon, where I think a lot of people have just instinctually gone with Siege Rhino. Notice that Gideon on an empty board is just worth a whole lot over the course of the game. Especially now with these Obzon decks not having something like Hero's Downfall on the list anymore. Planeswalkers on empty boards are even better than they used to be in this matchup.
Right, the experience on Tumavitch's side does pay off. So for game 2, Hunter will be on the plate. That's the easy one. Matt Tumavitch is on the mulligan right now. That'll help Hunter even more.
Though we've seen these decks be able to fight through mulligans, there's a lot of card advantage. A lot of ways to draw cards. A lot of cards that are worth multiple cards, so not the end of the world here.
Yeah, it really does seem that way, especially in these matches. The player who's behind, the losing player, I've noticed it frequently is the one with extra cards.
Hunter Nance died with 3 spells in his hand in game 1.
You know, to that regard, and then you've talked about this before, when there's a lot of trading, the cheap spells seem to be what's important. I do still really like Hunter Nance's side of this when he has so many murderous cuts and cards like Stubborn Denial. Just his ability to play more cards and play them faster really has put him in a good spot in the matchup.
Yeah, step 1 is just get your second spell, have it swallow up your opponent's turn, have it trade well. The creatures still hit very hard. So even though the game can bog down and take a long time, if you start getting that kind of advantage, it's just going to be so much damage.
Yeah, even the 1-drops, Warden of the First Tree, that guy's a 3/3 without much work. He hits. And Tumavitch keeping on 6. Now has a difficult scry. And we're underway. Tumavitch on the draw. Hunter will start with a fetch land, but no play. We go back over to Matt. Matt looks to be land heavy. Starts out on Sunken Hollow.
How confident are you?
Not. But we'll go with it. Like, you know, I like your percentage game where you say, you know, where's the gap between the 2 words? You know, it could be.
I think Sunken Hollow is a very good guess.
There's only so many options. Off chance it's Canopy Vista. Those 2 also have similar length. But that looks more like a blue-black, blue-black land.
Blurry Hedron mix.
Yeah. There's like a river, I think, in it. And
right, yeah, there's some water. All right, we got it.
Yeah. Second land from Hunter. So we saw this both players game 1 as well, where they really didn't start playing cards until turn 3. You know, in that regard, Tumavitch was on the play. Nance, and he did end up getting it, but life starting on turn 3 could be okay from Matt's side. And he may just want to get out ahead. Curious of whether or not he can play out a Den Protector just as a 2-1.
Not a huge fan of doing that in this matchup typically. The games just go on for a long time. Den Protector is pretty valuable. And it looks like Tumavitch has, I mean, he's got a lot to do with this mana, but he's not so bottlenecked that I would use a Den Protector this way, but it looks like this is where Tumavitch is going to go.
Yeah, well, the danger is as a 2-1, this creature just doesn't deal enough damage. I mean, it certainly is not going to win any combats.
Well, Tumavitch's hand is fairly aggressive. He does have a copy of Self-Inflicted Wound in his hand along with Gideon, so he might be trying to play that sort of game.
Yeah. Go back over to Nance. He's going to go ahead and end step fetch a Sunken Hollow. And this is something we've seen from Nance the entire tournament, is that because he's playing Abzan Blue, has a little more aggressive of a mana base, trying to get that 4th color for Woodland Wanderer, he's had a lot more of these slow mana starts than his opponents have. 3rd land from him there, still no play. Had the mana for something like Anafenza, but either no interest or doesn't have the card. So first damage will be on Tumavitch's side. Den Protector hits in for 2. Looks like he has a follow-up. It may just be Anafenza. Cracks Flooded Strand. For basic planes, yeah, that should do it. And 4/4 will be at the ready. Imagine Hunter will kill this one on end step. Yeah, that's exiled with Abzan Charm.
Yeah. Too rough for Hunter to go through the turn there without using anything, whether it's mana on turn 2 or turn 3. So not surprising to see him have removal spell at the ready.
Now here's a real good declaration turn for Hunter. He's got a couple options available on turn 4. He, of course, has the turn 4 Rhino. That's a great play. He also has Den Protector, leave up Stubborn Denial if he wants to play around something like Gideon, which is pretty helpful. I know it's not ferocious here, but if Matt Toont were to tap out for Gideon, it would be a big win for Nance.
Well, Denial is only instants and sorcery, so there's no insurance there on the Planeswalker. I think that he's probably just better served with the Siege Rhino this turn, as there aren't a whole lot of chunky spells in Tumavitch's deck. It's basically just cheap removal spells.
Good point here. He's going to go, looks like he will go with the Den Protector line to leave up Denial. Now, Denial, so you're right, can't hit Planeswalkers, so what can he hit here with it? Is there anything? I mean, remember, it's not ferocious.
Realistically, it's not getting anything here.
Okay. Canopy Vista is the play for Tumavitch. See, it's dark colored, but there's no river. It's like a valley.
Right.
That's probably the green one. And here's a swing from Den Protector. Hunter, no interest in blocking. And now Tumavitch gets to pick between Gideon, Anafenza, and Tasigur. All 3 are options.
I really like the Gideon here. It's the most mana efficient of the options. Also, Nance currently has the mana available to cast Murderous Cut. So if Tumavitch uses his turn casting a creature, Nance can kill it on tap and have all the mana available. So for a variety of reasons, I like doing this.
Hold the game. Can Stubborn Denial do that? Pause. Can we check that Stubborn Denial can counter Gideon? Gideon is cast here. Stubborn Denial was cast. Yeah, Stubborn Denial. Yeah.
Oh, excuse me, non-creature, I'm sorry. Then yes, this play was excellent from Nance.
Okay, yeah, that's what we were talking about before, how this was a risk from Nance that you didn't have the Siege Rhino, but at the same time, Stubborn Denial. You know, this was the big coup. This is what he was hoping to snag when he took the line. It's not, Dispel is instants or sorceries.
Well, Dispel's just instant.
Just instant. Dispel's just instant. Yeah, Stubborn Denial, when powered up, it's a straight negate. Great here. Now Nance really gets to follow up on that. Got to keep the board even. Really, that's the best card you could hope to hit with Stubborn Denial.
Yep, and I think Tumavitch got trapped there a little bit just because of the concern of Murderous Cut. He could have played off curve for a turn and cast his creature, but if Nance has a Murderous Cut there, it's even worse for him.
Yeah, well, a blue-black duel, it's really hard to read, right? You could have Cut or Denial, and with the cards he had in the graveyard, there was no way to tell. So you go back to Hunter Nance. He's behind on life points, but he's gaining card advantage here, as well as tempo. Last turn, he did what you've been saying is important. He played a threat and he played a removal spell.
Yeah, that is the key, and we've seen it over and over again. First person to break serve in a big way is the person who gets an enormous advantage here, and Nance able to generate that situation.
Yeah, so you go back to Tumavitch's side, and you know, despite the fact that early on Den Protector can be anemic, it's done a lot of work here. He's got Nance down to 12. We look at his hand of double self-inflicted wound with Den Protector, and you start to wonder whether or not Matt Tumavitch can just hobble across the finish line with the threats he has.
Well, you can look at it two ways. One is, he's able to play the Den Protector, got in some attacks, and can back it up with a little bit more pressure. The other way that you can look at it is, it's likely that Tumavitch is going to fall a little bit short here. He doesn't have quite enough aggression to finish off the game, and these two removal spells could have been used to buy him quite a bit of time.
Right. I mean, and I tend to agree here with that Den Protector in play for Nance. He has Nance low, but 12 is a big number to come back from, especially against a deck that does play cards like Siege Rhino. You see Tumavitch's hand. He has Anafenza, 2 self-inflicted wounds, and a Tasigur, no 5th land, 3 cards in the graveyard.
I always feel like, to an extent, that the die is somewhat cast, that he needs to be playing self-inflicted wound this turn. It allows him to keep up the pressure with the Den Protector he played face up. It's also the best way to play around a removal spell from Nance's side of the table.
Yeah, he's just going to go for Anafenza. He did have the line there of self-inflicted wound and Tasigur, as that would have been card 4 in the graveyard as well. So he could have done the kill spell plus threat turn.
I think the goal here is that Tumavitch is trying to bleed out the Den Protector, getting back the Abzan Charm. He's going to be able to ideally use the self-inflicted wound to clear both of Nance's threats off the table, and then he can follow up with the Tasigur.
And that's exactly what he has done here. Nance exiles the Anafenza, swings for 8 with Anafenza and Den Protector, puts Tumavitch down to 8. It threatens lethal next turn, but on Tumavitch's side, he is at the ready with the kill spells. Here's self-inflicted wound will take care of either one of Nance's creatures, but as we know, he has his eyes set on both.
And this is the line that Tumavitch was trying to go for last turn. And he's hoping to get Tasigur as his last threat left over here, maybe start playing the card advantage game that way.
Yeah, I suppose if he draws a land here, he gets to have everything. He can have a self-inflicted wound and ×2 and Tasigur. So one of them's gone. Hunter down to 10. Swing from Den Protector puts Hunter down to 8. Tumavitch will pass, not playing the second self-inflicted wound. Does have Tasigur in play. I wonder what the other draw is. It looks... We will see. A swing for 4 from Den Protector puts Tumavitch down to 4. Den Protector now lethal. And for Nance, here is Rhino. Tumavitch down to 1. Nance up to 11. And just a pass back. Interesting. Now, he didn't want to wound last turn.
I think he was missing double black. I think
you're right, it was Canopy Vista,
He was missing two sources of black mana to be able to cast both the spells.
So, game to Hunter Nance, he evens it up at 1 game apiece. And with those expeditions, they just kind of look like they should make black. That they're dark.
Well, they're blurry-ish, hedron-y, sort of blur lands.
They're really pretty, though.
They are really pretty. I can appreciate the full artness and the weird frame, and obviously they generate a lot of excitement. It's cool they got printed, but they are somewhat challenging at times to view from afar and be able to confidently identify.
Yeah, and we've noticed that from here. Even when calling them, sometimes, okay, well, what spell does he have up? This can be tricky. Anyway, it's going to come down to game 3 between Nance and Tumavitch. Nance taking a post-board game yet again. We saw him win double post-board games against Andrew Jessup. Took the post-board game in the top 4. Now has 1-0 against Tumavitch. He is well set up for these. And that's thanks to cards like Stubborn Denial. That last game, how important was having Stubborn Denial on the turn for Gideon?
Not only was Stubborn Denial itself huge, being able to take away Tumavitch's entire turn and counter one of the most important cards, the fact that he has both Stubborn Denial and Murderous Cut at the same time creates a lot of problems from the other side of the table. Tumavitch there made a play playing around Murderous Cut that walked right into Stubborn Denial. And it's tough to play these guessing games as well, because as we've seen, when those 1-mana exchanges happen on 3 or 4 mana spells, it's almost always game over. And if you just guess wrong, that's it.
Yeah, and Tumavitch has been a pretty heads-up player this tournament. If Nance, say, only had Murderous Cut, as most Abzan players do, well, then Tumavitch, he made the right play in going for Gideon over something else. And if Nance only had Stubborn Denial, say Nance was, your Bant style deck, then Tumavitch could make the play of, well, I'll play the creature. And it is very difficult for Tumavitch to sculpt a game plan when Nance can represent so many things with so few lands.
And it's 3 cuts versus 2 Stubborn Denials. So if you're looking at just on the math, Tumavitch played around the right card. Also, the Gideon is a much higher upside.
Yeah, so double reason to go for Gideon there. But then you look at it, Nance had denial not cut. I mean, 3 versus 2, odds go one way, but not strongly.
Well, the other argument there for Gideon is if you resolve Anafenza and your opponent has stubborn denial in hand, there's no guarantee that matters for all that much. But if you resolve Gideon when your opponent has Murderous Cut in hand, it's worth a lot. So there's an edge there on 2 sides for Tumavitch to go for that play. One is just the straight math, and 2, what's the relative value of resolving each of those cards? But Nance had the card to punish him.
Well, this has all come down to the last game, Hunter Nance versus Matt Tumavitch. And for those of you familiar with the decks, I mean, how can you not be when it's Obs on aggro? Nance giving us a primer, really, on one way that you can win the mirror match.
Any 1-mana spell that interacts with the board in a positive way is going to be good. And Nance has brought the 2 best ones in Standard for the mirror match this weekend in Murderous Cut and Stubborn Denial.
Man, boy, is it paying dividends. Tumavitch down to 6 cards, Nance keeping.
And that was another game that we watched there, just like game 1, where the losing player died with spells in hand.
That seems to be the story of every game. I mean, Nance was playing defense for so long, right? His turn 4 play was simply a Den Protector plus a Stubborn Denial. And how quickly was Tumavitch at 16? Nance swung for 8 and threatened to swing for 8 a second time. The turnaround is just blisteringly fast with this deck.
The turnaround's fast, and the decks just don't really run out of resources.
Yeah.
A lot of it's a function of Den Protector. Again, cards that are worth multiple cards like Obzon Charm and so forth. It's very rare that we see a game where we say, all right, one of these players just kind of flooded out and died.
Yeah, well, they don't get into top deck wars much at all.
We have seen games where people stall on lands and can't get off the ground. That's definitely an issue. But if you're making your land drops, it's rare that the game is as simple as someone just ran out of stuff to do.
Yeah, and I mean, to that effect, when you're keeping a hand in this format, would you say, like, you'd much rather be land heavy than land light?
Definitely. Definitely.
All right, Tumavitch has capped on a 6-card hand. We're underway. This is the deciding match between Matt Tumavitch, Hunter Nance. This one is for the trophy. Tumavitch is on the play. It is an Obs on aggro mirror match. And it is, though on the draw, it is Hunter Nance who has the first threat. It's going to be Warden of the First Tree off a basic forest. Great start for Nance. Tumavitch now deciding if he needs to crack that fetch land before he takes his second turn. See, he has Llanowar Waste in his hand. It's a good land, but doesn't really contribute toward that dual land, basic land sort of balance that the mana has.
I mean, he can get a Plains here. And then with Plains and Llanowar Waste, he can, his mana is mostly fixed. It may not be completely fixed. If he gets a battle land, as he's chosen to do here, I assume this is Canopy Vista, then his mana is even more fixed than on the Plains Llanowar Waste spread, but he is giving up cost down the line with other battle lands coming into play tapped.
All right, he takes second turn, draws another fetch. We look at the kind of hand that Tumavitch has kept. It is a 6-card hand indeed, but it does have some large payoffs in it. Wingmate Rock hiding out among the late game drops. Certainly we've seen in games where neither player gets run over, Wingmate Rock is the best thing you can be doing.
And it's possible Tumavitch is willing to concede a little bit of equity with his battle lands down the line to just get his mana fixed early on, because he doesn't have that many battle lands total in the deck. There's only 4, I believe, 2 Canopy Vista, 1 Smoldering Marsh, and 1 Sunken Hollow. So there isn't a huge risk of him just drawing a battle land at an inopportune time and having it come into play tap. So it makes sense for him to prioritize just getting the mana fixed.
Yeah, if they're all already in play, you don't have to worry about them coming into doing anything when you play them. You see Smoldering Marsh gotten there at the end step. He did take 3 off Warden. That and his 2 fetches has put Tumavitch down a quarter of his life points already. He's at 15. But he has control cards. He has Obzon Charm here. That'll take care of Warden. He's sitting back on a self-inflicted wound and a Wingmate Rock. If he can raid that, he'll be in business. Hunter's play, Anafenza the foremost on turn 3. And this is that curve out we've seen. Turn 1 Warden, turn 2 Pump, Anafenza, quality 4-drop. Hunter's going to do it too.
And you might wonder why last term did Tumavitch use Obzon Charm instead of the self-inflicted wound, and it's exactly for this reason. He was able to get a 3rd card in his graveyard. Now this turn he gets card number 4 in the graveyard, which is self-inflicted wound, and has 2 mana now left over with the 4 cards in graveyard to cast Tassiger. So he was willing to use the more powerful card just to be more mana efficient and get a Tassiger into play.
Well, a lot of pressure on Nance here. Tassiger's in play. Can Nance kill it? Matt could raid a Wingmate Rock next turn. Now, there's a lot of dynamic going on here. Nance did draw a Disdainful Stroke, so he could counter a Wingmate Rock if he leaves up the mana for it. But I don't think he's going to. He's going to go for the 6/6 Woodland Wanderer. But great card here, actually. But it leaves Wingmate Rock open.
Well, yes and no. I mean, yes, Tumavitch, if he wants to, can attack Tassiger in. And maybe it's worth the bluff. I mean, if you attack in, maybe there's a chance Hunter says no blocks out of respect for Obzon Charm. That seems unlikely because Tumavitch could simply use Obzon Charm to remove the Wanderer anyway. And this is a lot of pressure. I mean, I don't think Tumavitch can just cast Wingmate Rock without raid. I don't think he can attack Tassiger into a Woodland Wanderer and then raid the Wingmate Rock. He might just have to say go and activate Tassiger.
It's the only other line he has here. And you know, all day when we've been seeing Hunter play these matchups, Woodland Wanderer has never attacked, it has never blocked, it has never fought another creature, it's just died to removal. This is the first time we've seen this creature survive, but we do see why Hunter likes it on the weekend, because this creature is going to survive, and it is terrifyingly large. Tumavitch picking between three really tough lines. He ended up deciding to go with Tassiger, Swing, and Raid Wingmate Rock.
Well, we're going to see what happens first. I mean, he's really hoping Hunter says,
take it.
take it. The thing is, I think that Hunter should be running a block here, because if you're worried about Obzon Charm, there's a good chance that Tumavitch would have just done it ahead of time, gotten his 4 points of damage. And if you take 4 here, and then Tumavitch gets to raid a Wingmate Rock, it's a big swing.
Wow, and the bluff from Tumavitch is going to work out, and that might get him the game. Hunter didn't want to be blown out by Obzon Charm, said no blocks, went to 13, and now it's Wingmate Rock from Matt Tumavitch.
Really gutsy play here from Tumavitch.
I love it. When you're behind here, he needed to make that real, he needed to throw a Hail Mary out. Matt found a line that he could go in on, and he did it, and it worked. That might win him the tournament.
That was such a risky play. I don't know if I would have been able to do it in the same spot. But Tumavitch is back in it.
And Hunter Nance attacks. Tumavitch takes 6, and Nance gets a Wingmate Rock back as well. But what a draw for Tumavitch. His draw was Gideon.
Unfortunately, he can only push. He can only push so hard in this spot. There's a lot of situations here where you could potentially say, Gideon, make an emblem, attack with my rocks. But Tumavitch is already behind in the life race by quite a bit.
So let's go back, because everything happened really fast there. After making the Wingmate Rock, Hunter attacked with the 6/6. Tumavitch had the option to double block it, but he declined. The Wingmate Rock raid is going to happen regardless, but declining that trade really put Tumavitch in a tough spot life point wise.
Well, he could have gotten blown out by all sorts of cards if he blocks.
Sure.
That's a much riskier block than he put Nance on the previous turn.
Absolutely. So Gideon is played. Matt's going to make an emblem with it. He can't attack yet, though. But what he does have is he has excellent blocks in play. Now that his Wingmate Rocks are 1 bigger, there's not a good attack in the air for Hunter Nance.
Yeah, and I like this block with everything play here from Tumavitch. He still kills the Woodland Wanderer even if Nance has 1 removal spell.
Right. There was an attack with just the 6/6, and Matt, everything in front of it. A 4/5, a 5/6, a 4/5.
If he double blocks, then 1 removal spell ruins him.
Game over.
So he's willing to sacrifice the Tassiger here to ensure that the Woodland Wanderer gets off the table.
And we'll see Hunter can choose to trade 1 for 1 with any of the creatures if he plays nothing. Most likely, because Tumavitch is out of cards, Tassiger is the most important card, and that's the conclusion Nance is going to come to. So Woodland Wanderer trades for Tassiger, no life point trades, still 13-7 in favor of Nance. And land from Nance. We'll see where he gets to go next. It is Den Protector face down. That's a huge play right now as it can get back Woodland Wanderer. A lot of pressure on Tumavitch to have something and have it soon.
The problem is that Tumavitch is behind kind of on all fronts right now. He's got an inferior board, or at least it's close to parity, but fewer cards in hand. And Nance is about to get back the Woodland Wanderer that's caused Tumavitch all sorts of problems the first time around. Nance is also sitting right now on Disdainful Stroke in hand. That cuts off a lot of Tumavitch's best draws.
Den Protector, end step from Hunter Nance will get back Woodland Wanderer. He may not win with finesse, but one thing he can win with is size. His creatures are just bigger, and he is making a statement with them. That 6/6 going to come back again, and even through the Gideon emblem, it is so tough for Tumavitch to deal with it. So another land from Nance. He can remake the 6/6. He still has a Disdainful Stroke to leave up. Going well here. This is Woodland Wanderer, all 4 colors once again for Hunter Nance. And that's going to be That's going to be a tough one. That fetch land from Hunter can still get a Prairie Stream that's left in his deck to cast Disdainful Stroke, so he gets to leave up the counterspell as well. And on the board, Hunter, he is threatening lethal. 4 attackers, 2 blockers, 6 life. That would do it.
Tumavitch down to 1 card in his hand. If he makes a play on the board right now that gets countered by Disdainful Stroke, that's going to be it. Nance just gets to untap and attack for the win.
Right, Nance gets to, he has the security to know then. It's Warden of the first tree. He'll level it once to a 3/3 and once again to a 3/3 lifelink. Fine play by Tumavitch.
That's the best draw he has in the deck right now. It's something that can't be Disdainful Stroked that has the impact of an expensive spell. So it can't be better than this.
And with that lifelink, it's still very close to being, it's close to being lethal. It's not lethal.
If Tumavitch can't kill this, we got a game again.
Yeah, I mean, once that Warden gets counters, I mean,
remember that Warden is repeatable. So if Nance can't attack this turn, I imagine Tumavitch is just going to be double blocking with the rocks here. If Nance can't attack this turn productively, it's not going to get any better.
And I mean, this is going well for Tumavitch. Things seemed like they were out of reach. Tumavitch just threw out the boldest of attacks. And this might even pay off. Woodland Wanderer got Den Protector back. It's swinging, but it's being blocked by 2 birds. If Tumavitch untaps and has the swinging with this Warden of the first tree, I mean, that's a 9/9 lifelink. I'm not sure that Nance has an answer.
It's possible Tumavitch is going to want to hold off for 1 turn here because Nance has 9 power on the table.
So he could still lose the race even if he pumps. But if he end step pumps, untap, does it again, that's lethal.
Yep.
Tumavitch has played his heart out to get to this spot.
He also, Tumavitch, if he wants to, can also just cash in his chips. He can attack with everything. Most likely, if Nance had a removal spell, we would have seen it last turn, most likely. If Nance wants to put everything in front of the Warden token, you still ain't getting quite a bit of damage. You wipe his board, and you get in some hits. I think he's better served waiting 1 more turn.
Well, let's see. So Nance has 10 toughness worth of creatures, and even with a pump and the Gideon emblem, Warden of the first tree is only a 9/9, so he doesn't actually get all 3 of Nance's creatures. He gets 2 of them. We're at all 3. It feels like a great attack for Matt. Even now, it feels like a good attack.
Yep. And if he drew a trick here, then he's golden.
Well, it would have to be a 1-mana trick, right? Because he has to pay 6 to pump Warden.
Yep.
I mean, they exist. Murderous Cut is a card that they play. Boy, would that be great here. Though Hunter does have a Disdainful Stroke. So here's Warden. I mean, Nance has to block, right?
I imagine Nance is just saying block with everything right now.
I mean, if Nance can't block with anything less. And no pumps for Matt. He's going to trade it with the Wingmate Rock. All right, let's see. What do you have in store, Matt?
Oh, my.
Den Protector. It's good.
It's got to be so frustrating now in Nance's spot where if Tumavitch ever just drew one of his best cards, something expensive, the game would be over. But Warden is creating so many problems.
Den Protector flips up. And remember, Nance can't block Den Protector. It's pumped from that Gideon emblem.
Yeah. And I like Tumavitch there not trying to shoot the moon. I mean, he got in a good attack there, drawing Den Protector that turn. He gets to rebuild over the course of a couple turns. If he makes a big pump there, it's his whole turn. He doesn't kill everything that Nance has. So he's slowly chipping away.
It's so tempting to make that all-in line where you just sit back, you pump twice, and try to swing for the win. I like that Matt took the conservative line. You know, had he gone for the big play and not Hunter just draws a kill spell, it kills him.
On top of that, with Tumavitch making that attack, he gets to go, okay, get your rock off the table. Now the sky is clear. He can start attacking with his rock into Nance's rock because his rock is a 4/5 because of the Gideon emblem. So a lot of good stuff going on that attack last turn without Tumavitch exposing himself to that much risk.
Well, we go over to Nance. Nance played Siege Rhino for the turn to put Tumavitch back down to 7. And we see now with Tumavitch, he's ready to level up that Warden again, sitting on 7 lands, 7 life. So that's a concern, but see Nance a draw. And just two levels up on the end step for Tumavitch. Makes it a 3-3, gives it trample and lifelink, and we're back where we were before. Matt can spend all his mana to pump the Warden up to 8-8.
I think he's going to pass and go for it again.
Yeah, now this is the play that he could have made a couple turns ago. It's the big finish. End step pump Warden again. So here we go, 6 mana Warden up to a 9-9. Tumavitch is going to untap. First, he'll crack a fetch land. Wow, and you know, this attack, I believe Nance just has Disdainful Stroke and lands. I don't think he has the kill spell for Warden.
We're going to find out in a minute.
If Warden pumps a second time, remember, you can use that last ability as many times as you want. It will be all the way up to a 14-14 lifelink trample. If you look at Hunter's creatures on the board, combined, they only have 10 power. They can't even take down the Warden. Look at this, no blocks from Hunter. And if you're in Tumavitch's spot, you hope it's no blocks. That's...
Well, one or the other, you know, Tumavitch is going to find out right now if there's a removal spell hanging out.
Wow. And Hunter Nance.
The body language does not engender a lot of confidence right now from Nance.
A game where he was so far ahead, and he may have, you know, this Disdainful Stroke has been in his hand the whole game with the mana up, and because Matt has been just surgically recurring Warden to the first tree. It's the biggest late game card, and it's the one late game card you can't Disdainful Stroke.
And it looks like Tumavitch is saying, all right, well, there's no reason for me to pump beyond what I'm doing right now. Just pass it back to you, get in a big shot, gain some life.
Well, it's not lethal this turn, and it'll still be lethal next turn.
Exactly, so there's no real incentive to go for it.
So one big draw left for Hunter. Can he draw the kill spell? He draws a card. We'll see. I don't think he has it. Matt will pump on end step. Creature now a 14-14.
You got to give a lot of credit to the way that Tumavitch played this game. If he didn't go for that Hail Mary,
that was unbelievable.
Attack, if Nance just goes and blocks, there's no way Tumavitch has the resources to get the game to this point.
I mean, just absolutely. He had to go for that play, and boy, was it paid off. Here's a swing with the whole team. Nance is at 7, 4 lands in play, and that's going to be it. Matt Tumavitch with the comeback win in Game 3, defeats Hunter Nance, and he is your Star City Games Philadelphia champion.
So congratulations, first of all, to Hunter Nance. Second place, another second place in the Open Series on the heels of Charlotte, which was modern. 20 Open Series points, further solidifying his position for the Players' Championship. But Matt Tumavitch there played a great match. I think 75 cards to 75 cards. He was behind. I think Nance had a better plan for the mirror match. I think he had more significant cards. But Tumavitch there, in desperation spots where he had to make some pretty gutsy plays, that attack with the Taskmaster because you got to put yourself in Tumavitch's position, because if the card that's being played around there is Abzan Charm, you can simply Abzan Charm it. So the only thing that could possibly incentivize a bluff in that spot is if somehow Nance can't beat the 6-7. So it's very, and anything that kills a 4-5 kills a 6-7 in the matchup.
Right.
So the only scenario, the bluff just feels so unlikely to work. But Tumavitch looks at his hand, he's got this Wingmate Rock. He's under a lot of pressure coming soon from the Woodland Wanderer. To have any shot of winning the game, he just has to go for broke there, make the attack, even though
it's bad.
If you add up all the pros and cons, it's probably right for Nance to just run a block out there when you add